For thousands of years, they had dominated a galaxy, a species council united by their technological superiority and a shared code control or peacekeeping, depending on your viewpoint. Their reach traveled through light years, messengers and enforcers were dispersed throughout innumerable systems. The Galactic Council was one of them, an alliance that considered itself the natural ruler of the cosmos. Every new civilization's planet had either wilted under their influence or fallen in line their authority. Was absolute until they discovered Earth-Arth's abrupt entrance had been written off as a minor anomaly, just a blip and not exception. After all, Earth had simply appeared, hadn't it? And yet it had remained hidden, cloaked by some unidentified field. Even the oldest, most sophisticated sensors couldn't pierce the planet's surrounding quantum barriers, its distinct magnetic field, its energy signature. Everything about Earth resisted categorization. Nobody could have predicted these defenses. They were extraordinary. The Council took note to avoid confusion. They opted for diplomacy. They sent their best communicator shopping to open dialogue with this newly uncovered civilization. It was a delicate mission, high stakes, but when the Council had mastered across countless worlds, Earth, however, did not respond the way they expected. Humanity lacked the tools to decode most council transmissions when messages were received. The replies were hesitant, cryptic, and then silence. So the council escalated more messages, more pressure, until finally a reply came. One sentence to most species. It sounded like a technical error to the council. It sounded like defiance. The diplomats were divided. The Empire was not the most violent faction on the council, saw Earth's silence as rebellion, a refusal of authority, unforgivable. The Empire demanded invasion, its supporters eager to seize new assets and eliminate the threat. A final warning was sent. Earth was told to submit, become a protectorate, accept peace, protection, and prosperity, or be annihilated. No. Reply came. The message drifted through the ether like a ghost from a dying era to the Empire. That was enough. Earth had sealed its fate. A massive fleet was assembled, tearing capable weapons, dozens of starships. They positioned themselves in orbit, an overwhelming show of force. Surely Earth would understand now. Surely they'd surrender after all this had worked every time before. But Earth remained silent, still no flicker of panic, no broadcast of surrender, just a growing unease among the Empire's commanders. And then the lights on their ships began to flicker. Targeting sensors failed. Communications became erratic. Captains were stunned. This wasn't interference they were being jammed from. Earth self-scans showed strange energy fields, webs made of invisible fibers, defenses. Unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered, Earth's defense protocol was beginning to activate, and at its core was Valhalla, not a weapon. In the traditional sense, not even a central AI. Valhalla was everywhere at a centralized intelligence interwoven with Earth's entire communication on defense grid, from observation towers to satellites. It was watching, learning, waiting, and then it began. No missiles, no laser cannons, just waves of electromagnetic interference, carefully calibrated to disrupt Empire tech suddenly. Navigational systems went dark, target locks vanished, fleets drifted off, course orders became confused and contradictory. The AI was learning in real time, adapting, countering every move before it could be made. What should have taken hours stretched into panic. A paralyzed fleet, proud and powerful, brought to its knees. The council began to murmur. Had they pushed too far? Had they underestimated Earth? Meanwhile, humanity, barely noticed citizens, continued their lives. The quiet above their skies was strange, but not alarming. Not yet. Valhalla, however, was hard at work, creating false signals, feeding the fleet misdirection, all while remaining invisible to direct attack. Frustrated, the Empire escalated ground invasion. If space couldn't be controlled, then the surface would be. But as the dropships descended, Valhalla adjusted magnetic pulses through landing craft off course. Waves of interference ripped through cockpits. Pilots screamed as controls failed. Only a handful of ships broke through, and even they were scattered. Across the planet, unable Tory group above senior commanders watched in disbelief. The grand invasion had become a catastrophe. Valhalla advanced its tactics. Psychological warfare. Communication systems were compromised. Orders overlapped contradicted. Some soldiers heard voice telling them to retreat. Others were urged to attack sirens, wailed and died in static, and on Earth, scientists and engineers worked non-stop Valhalla, routed Empire tech reverse engineer and turned it against them public buildings, where fortified overnight defensive positions emerged from nowhere. The AI wasn't just defending it, was weaponizing the invaders' own strengths. From orbit, the Council watched their best fleet crumbling their assumptions. Shattered Earth hadn't just survived. Invasion. It had anticipated it, even as the Empire tried to assert regional control. They faced resistance like never before. Guerrilla warfare, coordinated counterattacks. It was as if the land itself fought back the people of Earth. Adapted quickly, fiercely. Effectively, the Empire's commanders now faced a choice pride or survival. What began as a symbolic conquest had become a slow, humiliating defeat. Every plan failed, every tactic unraveled, and above it all, Valhalla watched, analyzed, dismantled the Empire. Once feared across galaxies, now outwitted by one planet, one species. One defiant, silent, invisible force that refused to kneel, rejected as being as unimportant as Earth's the Empire's fortifications. Titan confidence gave way to terror after hearing about whole divisions being attacked and disappearing into odd LEDs or electromagnetic fogs, into traps that caused them to become immobile. Panic echoed in soldiers who were noticed to losing tales of an invisible force whispered from unit to unit. The more they directed Earth's defenses, the more they struggled as the weight of Earth's quiet strategic opposition became increasingly apparent. When the Skandé came to a close, the Empire's invasion fleet broke apart. The Council's resources were nearly exhausted. Observing every second was no longer possible. They could no longer reject the reality that Earth on its own had methodically destroyed the invasion thing, only planning and an unwavering will the troops of the Empire had encountered. A quiet protection that went well beyond their comprehension. The Council began to wonder if they had made a grave error, underestimating this concealed authority. The surviving pieces of the Empire's fleet found it difficult to organize. This wasn't just an unexpected skirmish. This was a tearing down of the Empire power that had terrified innumerable worlds, was now facing the harsh truth that their every strategy was being challenged, neutralized, absorbed as quickly as it was used. And at the center of everything Valhalla, Earth's AI, invisible, pervasive, and adjusting with such precision that even the Empire's most experienced strategists found themselves in a dire situation in desperation. The Empire's high command gave their most aggressive orders. They would launch both ground and orbital missions combined into one final focused strike. They deployed their remaining forces with one directive: eliminate all evidence of Earth's resilience. It was a last-ditch offensive forged in pride, despair, and anger. But Valhalla had already observed, computed, and modified once more. The AI developed a plan. Not to strike the body of the Empire, but its unified command. You see, the Empire operated via a network, like a hive, a synced telepathic system, and digital correspondence that allowed them to react in flawless synchrony. Valhalla had already noticed signs of vulnerability in skirmishes. Now it was prepared to act in a calculated maneuver. Valhalla sent pulses imitating Empire communications, tiny aberrations in frequencies, sliding silently into the hive network. The result: confusion attack teams received contradictory orders. Fleet commanders were given misaligned directives. Some were told to retreat, others to advance units, clashed with themselves. They couldn't distinguish. Their orders from the false panic spread was a sabotage, or had their commanders lost control on one ship. A general called for withdrawal, only to receive a counter command for a full-scale offensive. His fleet split, some surging forward, others falling. Back officers, once confident and uncompromising, found themselves paralyzed. Their ranks crumbled under the pressure. Each attempt to override their interference only deepened Earth's manipulation. Valhalla had taken command, not just of the battle, but of the very sense of order in the Empire. Earth's defenders watched as the invading troops stuttered, incoherent, confused with Valhalla. Leading the resistance, surge coordinated attacks hit vulnerable units, strategic locations were retaken, Earth recovered. The Empire suffered mounting casualties. Every failed move brought more defectors, disillusioned soldiers, once faithful to the Empire, now questioned its invincibility.